Welcome back. Tens of thousands of Afghans are fleeing Afghanistan, but they have nowhere to go. Majority of the Western nations, including USA, Australia and the EU, have refused to give asylum to the Afghan refugees, washing their hands off the staggering humanitarian crisis that has emerged out of the Taliban coup. It wasn't bad enough that the Biden administration decided to withdraw their troops from the Afghan soil, causing the Taliban terrorist outfit to take control. But US even refuses to rehabilitate the casualties of the Afghan conflict. Meanwhile, India continues to give shelter to the Afghan refugees. The question we are asking is, why should the United States and other Western powers be allowed to wash their hands of the current Afghan crisis? Do they not have any accountability? And is India the only country that's going to take the onus of rehabilitating those people who are fleeing Afghanistan? We'll talk about this with our guest. Joining me on the platform is Ambassador Deepak Vora, former Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, former diplomat. Also joining us on the show is Atul Aneja, editor of IndianNarrative.com, and Joseph M. Jalil, Chairman, Indo-American Press Club. He joins us all the way from Palm Beach, Florida. Last but not the least, Sumit Peer, political commentator, is also joining us on the show to talk more about this. Ambassador Vora, why should it be only India's responsibility to welcome the Afghans? You know, it's understandable that the proximity increases the onus for India to do the needful, but other countries too have some responsibility, as they did when Syria was in crisis, to accommodate these refugees.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to talk about a subject that is not very exciting, not very motivating, but nevertheless it's important, and I'm always privileged to learn from you, sir, from Dr. Joseph Jalil, from Mr. Aneja, from Mr. Sumit Peer, and from our other guests. You see the picture behind me of young girls, refugees. Look at the hopelessness on their faces. Why, sir? Why? I'm glad you asked me this question. For hundreds of years, India has been a refugee haven. My parents were both refugees from Peshawar and Lahore. But today I understand what being a refugee means. We may not have signed the 1951 UN Convention or the 1967 Protocol, but we've never turned away people seeking freedom. The world knows this. Those who created the Afghan mess now expect us to pick up the pieces, because we have provided asylum to Jews who have been persecuted everywhere. The only country in the world where they face no kind of discrimination ever.
Atul Aneja, you know, the Afghani people are at a peril. You know, they need the world to show some solidarity. They need the world to show some mercy. You know, Paris, France, and Austria, Australia, a number of places that have shown sympathy, have tweeted the most. Most of the tweets pertaining to the Afghan crisis have come out of Paris and London and New York and San Francisco, but none of these nations and these cities are basically raising their voices to have these Afghan people come into America or the European Union. India is the only country which has shown a lot of interest in settling them in our vast and big-hearted country. But at the same time, what about the Gulf countries? Why aren't they taking any chances by settling these Afghans into their own land?
Well, the short and simple answer is that please do not expect that we live in an idealistic world. We live in the real world, and countries have their interests, and that's the way the world goes. And it is star power, or in this case, even the lack of it, which is showing in the treatment of the Afghans. The Americans or the British, I don't know why there is the expectation that they will do something of a mass humanitarian nature. The track record is not that edifying.
We are also joined by an Afghan student, and we are being joined from Switzerland. I'm not going to take her name, but she has family stuck in Afghanistan. What do you know about what's going on in Afghanistan at the ground level? From what we hear is that the Taliban is back to its usual atrocious self.
Yes, that's very true. I have my family stuck currently in Afghanistan, my mother and my sister, because of which I'm not able to reveal my identity at the moment, because it will create a huge amount of risk for them. There is a lot going on currently. I was talking with my mother, and basically the problem is that the Taliban is hunting the people who work with the international community, especially with the United States and the NATO and all these countries that they have worked.
Miss, are you in touch with your family? And have they been approached, or have they been, in any way approached by the Taliban or the new regime?
Yeah, I'm sorry. They have been approached the day before yesterday by Taliban. Since the day before yesterday, my mother...
And what kind of an interaction was that? What kind of an interaction was that?
Yeah, so basically they come to our house, they knock on our doors, and they ask my mother. So my mother didn't open the door. She just answered from behind the door, and she said, like, who are you, what do you want? Because she's obviously so scared and she don't want to open the door.
And I'm sure you're very worried about your family, and so are we. Joseph, America is a country of immigrants, but just not Afghan immigrants, right? This is something which definitely is going to go against Joe Biden. Not only the pullout, but the prospects of having Afghans settled or fly out to the United States, and Biden refusing that to happen, is also going to be a blot, perhaps, on his reputation when he leaves office.
It's really unfortunate and really, really sorry to see the state of affairs in Afghanistan after America invested trillions of dollars and blood of American soldiers to protect and to free the Afghan women and children and freedom. And then, sorry to see this is exactly what's happening because of, administrative mistakes. Again, I believe there is colossal intelligence failure in this regard. It's really, surprising to see how could all the intelligence in the U.S. could have mistaken how powerful the Taliban is, or how weak the Afghan leadership was, or Afghan military leadership was, and why they left town, or were they being paid off by any regional forces? Who knows? So I'm pretty sure investigations will come in. This is really unfortunate. Again, Biden was promising to run for re-election at the end of his term. I believe he now confirmed he will be a one-term president. I don't think he will seek, and even among his own party members and the liberal base, there is so much resistance against the president now. Even the media, which is friendly, to President Biden, are now showing images of Afghan refugees or Afghan people hanging on to planes, and I believe they see human remains in the wheelbase of planes which landed in the U.S. And another thing which surprises me is UN. Surprisingly absent in this field. Security Council. This is time. This need to be disbanded. I think it's time to recreate bodies with power. But when China is having veto power, there will be nothing out of Security Council. India is the chair, but with no power. You can be the best chair, but without a veto power, what can you bring? So
absolutely,
where is the peacekeeping force?
Absolutely. Well, the UN is perhaps like a dinosaur, extinct and only talked about. Well, my colleague Aishwarya, in fact, caught up with a few Afghan refugees who have taken shelter in India. Listen in.
The situation in Afghanistan is grim, and the people here living in India are absolutely worried just because they don't know how their future is. The future remains certainly uncertain. I've been joined by one of the students who lives in India, and she's an Afghani. What is the problem that you are facing currently? You have been visiting to the Afghan embassy over here. How do you see the future, and what are the problems that you are facing?
Actually, I am Roya. I'm living here since 9 years, and from before we have problems, so much problems as a terrorist problem in Afghanistan, security problems, and as well we came that time to here to be refugee, to live here. But here also there is no any future. We don't have nothing, documents. Like, we are not legally living here. We don't allow to have a bank account. So many there is small problems that we are facing that in India. So now we cannot go back, and because the news are now, about it. Afghanistan is under terrorists. So we cannot go back. We don't have our embassy. Now there is from Canada, Australia and other countries, they are saying that they are taking the refugees. And we want that. Now we need that applications.
All right, Afghanistani refugees outside the Afghanistani embassy. Sumit, we have run out of time. I'm going to take concluding thoughts from you. You know, it's really heartening to see that that girl saying that she belongs to no man's land. They can't go back to their own country. They are going to be facing problems everywhere, including India. We as a channel are going to do as much as possible to make sure that these refugees get a place to stay and an identity as well when they move out of Afghanistan and into our country. But you know, it's very important to realize at this point in time that the UN once again has reiterated how useless it is.
I think UN doesn't exist. Is it still operational, functional? Heck yeah. Not very. Is it outdated? Is it corrupted? So problem is, you know, somebody correctly said, as long as you have a corrupt and a rogue nation like China and the UNSC, nothing can be expected out of yours. This I have said numerous times. You cannot expect anything. Who was paying Dostum Khan? Who paid Nur Muhammad Khan? They were Chinese. Why did Afghan armies not found fled? It was Chinese. What is the kind of, you've seen this young girl on our show, you know, how terrified she was.
And Sumit, where is Greta Thunberg? Where is Rihanna for that matter?
Mia Khalifa, Miss Harris, where are those epitomes of, you know, free speech and humanity? And Malaya Yousafzai. Obviously nobody paid her this time. She only speaks when somebody pays her.
All right, on that note, we have run out of time. Thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of this important conversation.